There was so much pride in our country and what we were fighting for.
In war, the line between life and death is often thin.
What they all did for our country, and that so many died in the process.
Cemeteries like this are where we quantified the true depth of human sacrifice, row after row.
There was so much pride in our country and what we were fighting for.
Where so many stories end, though, is where this one begins. What was it that drew them in to serve, do you know?
Well, everybody in that generation in our family, every male, went in the service.
Bill and Ann Leventhal's father signed up for the service in 1941.
This one is my dad, my mom, and Dad's wearing an Army uniform.
With him that day was his cousin Lawrence Craig. Bill and Ann's dad came back from the war, but Lieutenant Lawrence Craig did not.
And killed in action.
Killed in action, right.
On a mission to learn more about Lieutenant Lawrence Craig, Bill found himself in Normandy, France last year, walking the rows of crosses lined with reminders of the sacrifices made here. Bill Leventhal spent hours looking for the grave of his father's cousin.
So we were looking around and going up and down the rows and looking for a Jewish star. And we didn't find one.
Lieutenant Lawrence Craig, who was Jewish, was not, it turned out, buried under a Star of David as his family assumed. Instead, his grave was marked by a Latin cross. Did it bother you seeing it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because we're Jewish.
And I had a sort of a visceral reaction when I saw it.
Hundreds of Jewish American soldiers killed in World War II are thought to be buried under Latin crosses, including Lieutenant Craig. But it turns out a 7 decades old problem can, in a way, be fixed.
Getting here was a long journey.
Last week, standing on this sacred ground, a crowd gathered here at Normandy American Cemetery. They were not present to observe a burial, but instead bear witness to a monumental undertaking.
Honor, sadness.
When Lieutenant Lawrence Craig died, officials at the cemetery did not know he was Jewish. He changed his last name in case of being captured by the Germans. For 79 years, his memorial marker was a Latin cross. Until now, when years of heavy bureaucratic lifting with U.S. officials replaced his grave marker with a Jewish Star of David. And in the crowd was where we found Bill Leventhal, watching as this historic wrong was made right.
Very, very meaningful. Yeah.
The whole thing was made possible as part of Operation Benjamin. So far, the nonprofit has secured approval from the American Battle Monuments Commission to replace 23 grave markers of Jewish American service members, with 30 more in the works.
I hope it sends to the world that we still care about these soldiers, even 79 years after his sacrifice.
There are 9,387 Americans buried at Normandy, 172.5 acres, quantifying the true scope of American freedom. And this effort brings into focus the faith of many of those soldiers. Do you hope maybe he's resting a little easier?
I gotta think so.
It's hard to really know, but I think so.
Soldiers deserving of so much, now getting something back. Chris Conte, Scripps News.